Hello Straders and welcome to the Pauper Gauntlet. I'm playing Infect by New HEA in round 5. This is all brought to you by mtgotickets.com and you guys, the patrons at patreon.com/magicgatheringstrat. Season 4 of the Pauper Gauntlet is up there, so please contribute if you feel that you can and enjoy our content. Slayer is our opponent. Infect has never done well in the Pauper Gauntlet. But here we are in round 5, which is pretty far. One creature, we have a Seal of Strength to protect it. If we're up against mono black, this is a horrible hand, but I will keep it. If we're up against mono black, we are in trouble anyway. We have defeated Green Tron, Azorius Kitty, and Naya Walls, and here is something blue-green I mean, and that should be a good thing for us. Let's have a look. It's some sort of blue-white control deck without any removal at this point. And Rancor should just be able to go through. The Rift Watcher is of course terrible against us, but it gets even better. We get a Glistener Elf. And now we can do a billion damage next turn. Or at least 6. Oh no, we have Groundswell Rancor, that's 7. And there's no spell we saw in his hand that we need to fear. He could have drawn a Vapor Snag or something. But we are gonna risk that. Double Groundswell. And use the Rancor next turn. Yeah, I'm gonna double Groundswell. And now we just need to do one more damage. So if he plays the Rift Watcher, if he plays the Seagate Oracle, he loses. He needs to have removal here. And that's the game. Very, very nice. But I wonder if we can win another game against this deck when he boards in a lot of removal. Rancor. And Giant Growth. And that is all she wrote. Let's not mess this up like I did with White Heroic. Turn 3 kill. Okay. And he doesn't like playing against Infect. That's an effect of Infect, right? So Infect moves into round 6. That's pretty impressive. Great build, New HA. Thank you for watching. Oh, I need to pad this. I need to pad this so people don't know it's a quit. So what are we going to talk about? Well, we can talk about the fact that I am a full-time YouTuber and podcaster. I currently do 5 podcasts. I do Magic Gathering Strat podcast. I don't do much work there. I just show up every week. Brennan does all the work and Sam. I do Fan of History podcast with Brennan. That's a lot of work. That's by far my most popular podcast. One episode has 2,000 listeners. But of course it needs to grow a lot if I'm going to be able to support myself out of that. Or even partially. Then I do a Swedish podcast about the legend of the Ice People, a 47 book series with a girl named Anna. She is also the person organizing the events at GothCon where I'm going this Easter. And I'm going to be instructing feminists and people who consider themselves women in Magic. So that will be pretty fun. I will try to do a couple of videos about women in Magic and how they experience the community, etc. So and then I'm doing a podcast about Game of Thrones with Power T, the creator of Pig Trinket. You know him. Game of Thrones starts in April, so that will pick up then. That we do a couple of episodes every off season, but it's gonna pick up for real in April. And my 5th podcast is a podcast about the murder of Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme. And on the 28th of February it will be 30 years since our greatest statesman was killed on the street in Sweden. And the murder is still unsolved. In fact, the murderer shot him in the back late on Friday night and then just ran away. 22 people saw him and still he is not caught. It's the biggest unsolved murder investigation in the whole world. The documentation for the murder takes a trained jurist, a trained lawyer, 12 years to read. So, and 5 people are still working full time trying to solve this murder. It's a pretty good story. I was about to do a true crime podcast, but I realized I didn't need any other crime than this one. It is in Swedish though as well. So 3 English and 2 Swedish podcasts. I'm also running a lot of YouTube channels, but this is by far the most successful one, Magic Gathering Strat that is. And my money mainly comes from buying and selling magic cards, online magic cards, and the ad revenue and the Patreon. And it doesn't add up to the $2,000 that I need to support myself. So I have decided to run this until I'm probably going to do a separate video about this. But you great fans of the Pauper Gauntlet, you get to experience this first. I've given myself until the end of the year, end of 2016. But after that, I'm gonna need to find some other way to support myself. So please go to the Patreon and see if you can contribute $1 a month or something like that to Magic Gathering Strat. It would help a lot. That is pretty much split between me and Bava, who is running magicgatheringstrat.com and running the leagues and stuff. So if you want to support me directly, you can also support the Fan of History Patreon. The Fan of History Patreon is per episode, so if you decide to contribute $1 there, it will be between $2 and $6 every month. So, but you can put the ceiling on Patreon, so you can contribute $1 a month, $1 per episode, but maximum $1 per month. So please, if you want to support me, if you like what we do here, consider supporting one of our Patreons. Also, of course, subscribing to my YouTube channels. You can check out the Dan Hörning YouTube channel, my own YouTube channel. That has some information about all my channels and stuff. But the most successful one is Magic Gathering Strat. And Magic Gathering Strat 2 is actually number 3 right now. So only the Fan of History channel is bigger. But I think I'm running about 12 YouTube channels. My mom has spent 4 months in hospital since I started this company. I am the only living relative, so that has taken a lot of the wind out of me, and I expected to have gone further in this quest by now, but that's the situation and I have to deal with it. But it did kill Hard Nerd Cafe that I focused on during the fall of 2015. So right now Hard Nerd Cafe is only maybe some general gaming videos, but I don't have time for that during the Pauper Gauntlet. And then there will be Game of Thrones chat on that channel, of course. And maybe something from GothCon as well. But yeah, that's the situation with the YouTube channels. Now I need to talk for 5 more minutes. So what am I going to talk about? I'm gonna talk about, I don't know. What do you want me to talk about in things like this? I asked it in another video, but now I don't remember. So what was that video? It was another reserve channel video that had, was it elves? Yeah, I think it was elves. The last elves match. I'm searching the channel. Yeah, you wanted me to talk about Sweden, right? About typical things in Sweden. Well, Sweden is a pretty weird place. We are about 10 million inhabitants in a pretty large area. I think we're about the size of California, some a little bit smaller. I am addressing you, the listener, as if you were an American, because most of the listeners are. But please forgive me if you're not. Hey, why don't you comment which country you come from? Put that in the comments. Yeah, I talked about my English and quitters. Yeah, people, the politics, the people, the politics, and the system of Sweden. Let's talk about that. So we have about 2 million immigrants. So we are a pretty integrated side. We like to think that we are very liberal and we're very forgiving of people of different creeds and beliefs. Stockholm especially is the capital city. That's where I have my little apartment. My daughter lives there. It has about 1.3 million inhabitants. In the northern town we have about 12,000 inhabitants and 30,000 in the commune, which is a weird Swedish term. Sweden is split into 290 communes, and it's a pretty big area actually. But yeah, I'll show you the deck list here to show you something different. Maybe somebody thinks we are sideboarding. Oh, okay. So the politics then. We have been a socialist country for very long. The Social Democrats is the biggest party, but they are losing it. They're losing the majority. This northern town, for example, has had a social democratic majority since the dawn of time, and they've never lost an election here in the north. The Social Democrats are fairly left-wing. If you look at European politics, they are as far left-wing as you can get away with. They used to be. But our big problem in Sweden is that we have 8 big parties that are in the government, and 7 of them are very similar to foreigner. There's not much of a difference. There is a left-wing party, and they're a bit more socialist. And maybe they are as socialists as the Socialist Democrats used to be. But the Social Democrats, they have moved to the right, and the right-wing parties have moved to the left. So some people talk about there's 6 or 7 parties that cannot be distinguished by a foreigner. And that's mostly said by the people who like the 8th party, the Swedish Democrats. They are now the 3rd biggest party in the country. And they don't like immigrants, they don't like Muslims, and they want to make Sweden Swedish, whatever that means. So, and they are gaining traction a lot because of the Syrian refugee crisis. So immigration has been the hot topic for many a year. And actually, when I do the podcast on Olof Palme and his murder, immigration is one of the reasons he could have been killed. He was very pro-immigration, and that was 30 years ago. So the question has been very, very high on the agenda since then, but it's really much higher on the agenda now. So that's the politics. So you vote, every party who gets more than 4% votes makes the government. And the right-wing bloc then is 4 parties. And they don't like the Swedish Democrats, but the Swedish Democrats are also right-wing, but they don't get to play with the other right-wing parties. So we have the left-wing parties are the Social Democrats, the Left Party, and the Environment guys. And the right-wing party is the Moderates, which is the traditional conservative party. The Christian Democrats, which are maybe a bit more to the right, and then the middle parties, the middle politics that used to be neither left or right, but now they are also in this very thin area where all the parties are, and they are the Center Party and the People Party. Well, yes, and as there are 8 parties in the government now, getting to 4% is pretty hard for them. So they get like sympathy votes. Like the moderates are really a bigger party, but some of the moderates vote for the Christian Democrats or the Center or the People's Party just to keep them in government, because otherwise they would lose the 3% voters that those parties really have. That was a bit about the politics. We have an election in 2018 and we might get the Swedish Democrat as the Prime Minister, which would be very different. Right now the Social Democrats really would have needed Palme, the guy who was murdered 30 years ago. Oh, he would have been 89. But they would need someone like him, because he was very colorful and he was the last Swedish statesman who really put Sweden on the world map. He had a lot of interesting views on world politics, which might have also been a reason why he was killed. Well, I think I filled this up. What do you want to do? You want to hear more about Swedish systems? I am fairly uneasy talking about politics. Politics is very inflamed in Sweden right now. So any word I say might be used against me. Yeah, I can talk more about in what sense we are socialist compared to the US, because we are very socialist compared to the US. For example, healthcare is free, daycare is free, or kind of free. Taxes are extremely high. For example, that's why I need that much money. Actually, I can't live on $2,000 either because of taxes. But I'll work on that. Yeah, that's it. That's my rant for today. And now I have to publish this immediately because I want to hear your reflections on my rant. So thank you for watching, and if you listened all this way, tell me in the comments what you want me to rant about when I pad quitter videos like this. So I love to talk about my podcast, I love to talk about my YouTube projects, I love to beg for money for Patreon, but I can talk about other stuff as well. And this Sweden politics thing was a request by Politik, actually. Was the username on YouTube, so shout out to him. Okay, now I need to stop ranting and play some magic. Thank you.